a big round of applause.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I'll take that one.
Flip it on.
All right. Good morning. My name is Brother Jay Mule. I appreciate the invitation to come and pray as we begin here today. And so, in that context, I'll take wicked as a compliment. But it's good to be here. I've enjoyed myself. I'm with Comanche Nation Prevention and Recovery as well. And so we're happy to be here and take part. And this is my first time being here at this particular conference. And so I'm happy to be here. And so if you will, join me as we pray and open up today. Father, we come today and we just thank you. And we are grateful for another day that you have given us, another opportunity. Father, that we can come here today and that we can learn. Father, that we can educate ourselves. Father, that we can grow in wisdom and knowledge in a way that will benefit our communities, our people, our families. Father, we know that you have the best interests for each one of us. Father, that you love each and every individual here today. Father, that you know us intimately. Father, you know everything about us. You know our thoughts, our words, our deeds. Father, I pray, Lord, that individuals come to know you just as intimately as you know them. Father, that you sent your son, Christ, Jesus, Lord, that they could come into a relationship with you. Father, that he has come for a purpose, that he came and he died on the cross, rose again from the dead, resurrected back to life. Lord, that we could have forgiveness. Father, that we could have a relationship with you, that healing can begin, restoration can begin here among our people. I pray you begin to move among us. I pray for each and every individual, each and every community that is represented here, each and every family, each and every person. Father, you begin to use them. Father, you choose to use individuals like those here today. You choose to do your work through them. You don't have to. You desire that we be a part of what you're doing, your wonderful plan. And so, Father, I pray, Lord, that you bless the speakers, bless the presenters, bless the organization that has come today to host this event. Father, that we take something from here, and Father, we use it to help our people. Father, our people begin to flourish. Our people begin to rise up. Father, they are lifted back to life, Lord, that we could have a wonderful life. Father, we can have life eternity. And Father, we just thank you today. Be with us. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Brother Jay. Wonderful words of inspiration, motivation to start off our day. If you're just now getting here, come on in. We got a bunch of seats here in the middle. Get seated. We're getting started, and don't worry about making noise. We're pretty informal here. We like to have fun. We like to enjoy ourselves. So come on in. We're not real stodgy or formal organization. We just like to have fun. We want to make you guys feel welcome. And we're going to have our TEC director, Mr. Tracy Prather, come up to the stage. He's going to give you a welcome. And if you guys are just now getting here, just now coming in, you missed out on a great prize. We had a prize for all the people that were here early. They found a prize underneath their seats. And so that tells you tomorrow, make sure you get here a little bit early. We'll have another prize for everybody underneath your seats tomorrow. So at this time, I'd like to call up to the stage Mr. Tracy Prather. He's our Tribal Epidemiology Center Director. Mr. Prather is from Dodge. He's from Anadarko, Oklahoma. He's a good friend of mine now, and he's married to a Kiowa lady, Clara. And he's also he's known for being able to put up a teepee at night in the dark under car lights, headlights. He can do that. He can put up a sweat. He's just an amazing individual, and he's also a great leader for our organization. Mr. Prather and Mr. Barton, who's coming up here in a second, they use servant leadership to lead our organization, and it's working out really well for us. They're great bosses. So with that, I'll go ahead and he's turning a little bit red here, blushing a little bit. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Tracy Prather for a welcome address. Mr. Prather.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate the opportunity to visit this morning with this group in the crowd. I'd like to start with just an opening to say, I'd really like to thank the Choctaw Nation Casino and Resort here. What a fabulous facility, sharing their beautiful facility with us for everybody to come. And it's been a great fit. Everybody's having a good time. It's welcome at this time. Really like to thank Chief Batten for kicking the day off yesterday, taking the time, all the things that they have going, all the things that he has going, taking the time to be here and start this. The importance that it shows that he places with health initiatives and public health. We're very thankful for that as we're trying to get this whole boat rowing in the same direction. It's very important, and we appreciate that. I'd like to thank the board, Southern Plains Tribal Health Board, and the leadership from SPTHB, Southern Plains Tribal Health Board, for their constant care and support, the guidance and their vision that they provide us, and it keeps us on track, because now is the time for us to take and make impact. I think in public health and in prevention, the stars have aligned. So now is our time. We're glad to be back in person. Our chair yesterday, Marty Wofford, chairwoman with the health board, started the day by saying it was good to be back together. And I know everybody has felt that as we come through COVID. There had to be times where you stopped and wondered, will this ever happen again? Well, it's happening, and we're excited, and it's great. Our keynote yesterday, Dr. Evan Adams made a point. He so eloquently illustrated, coming back into the circle, and the circle's always been central, for Native communities, and it's our job and it's our wish, it's our intent to expand the circle. So Southern Plains, these type things, these type of events to expand the circle. That's what we're looking to do. We're excited about that because it's in the circle that we can have the conversations, we can have the meetings with those folks who have it figured out, who have a way, to not be told no, to look for the opportunities that each of us have to flip the script and do things a little bit differently in public health. What if it's different today? What if the funding levels change? What if, thank you so much for our federal funding organizations that are here and looking for ways to intersect and interact, and the opportunities to say, in tribal health and tribal government, we do things a little bit different way, and we're very blessed to have tribal leaders here today to say, let's make it work for us, that we've got a way to make this fit, and we've got funding organizations that are now having the ears to listen to say, let's look at what works for you. What are your priorities? And that's part of the SPTHB job. Let's look at the touch points where we have impact. We can grow the circle that Dr. Adams was talking about yesterday, include all, and help lift others as we go along the way. No more silos. In prevention, share the care. We have a great lineup today as we're going through. So excited with our keynote, Sutton King. We're glad you're here. Each and every one of you, we're glad you're here. I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to recognize, our staff. These guys, our brilliant staff that are here with SPTHB. They've worked hard. We've been planning for a year and beyond for making this thing happen, back live and in person. They are rock stars. I say many times they're thoroughbreds. I've got horses ready to run and ready to turn them loose. If you've got a need, if you've got a program, if you've got an idea that's just really untapped right now, and it's how do we get from A to B, let us know. We'll plug staff in, let my staff be your staff. How do we work to make that happen? So I'm excited. Please know that we serve the tribes. At the end of the day, that's job one and only for us. We serve the tribes. We're humbled and honored to be here, to be hosting you today as a facilitator, and more importantly, to be the caretaker of this. So the caretaker of keeping this thing going. This is our 15th annual Tribal Public Health Conference. I hope to be here to see you at 45. Let's grow it, whether it's big, large, small. Yeah. It's exciting. You guys, public health and prevention, you know, it's not buzzworthy, but it's the integral part of catch it on the front end so it doesn't cost you a whole bunch on the back end. In essence, change the oil in your car so you don't burn the motors up. That's hard to go back and get that thing fixed. So just an idea, just an opportunity. I love what you're doing. We thank you for that. Going forward, we would like to thank our partners. I'd like to thank our sponsors. Most importantly, I'd like to thank the tribes and tribal communities and the attendees. Please enjoy your day. Thank you all so much.
Come on up here for just a second. Hey, hang on 1 second. Come on up here, boss. He's one of my bosses. Come on up here to the front. You gotta check out this guy's shoes. He got some Jordans on. He's looking sharp. Let's give him a big round of applause. Hang on 1 second. I got you. Thank you, Mr. Prather. Great words, as always. I love you too. Next up, we got Mr. Barton, our executive director, Mr. Nicholas Barton, the other Nick, as he's affectionately known. Mr. Barton is our executive director for the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board. Came on board in 2018, worked for the CNAs, his tribe, for a long time before that. And ever since, as I said before, he uses servant leadership to lead us. He's a great leader. He's not demanding or demeaning or ever makes us feel bad or anything like that. He always uses servant leadership. And I promise that nothing I'm saying right now is because our annual evals are here in just a couple months. It has nothing to do with it. Mr. Prather, you're a great boss. Or Mr. Barton, you're a great You're a great boss. So I just wanted to say that about you, and I'll go ahead and turn the mic over to you at this time. So everybody give a big round of applause to Mr. Nicholas Barton.
Goodness, just cheeky up there. Oh my. All right. Good morning, Pivawana. My name is Nicholas Barton, Executive Director of the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board. I am Cheyenne and Arapaho, a citizen. I come from Western Oklahoma, and so Oklahoma is home, born and raised here. And so to my out-of-staters, welcome to Oklahoma. And you heard from Chief Batten yesterday, but welcome to Choctaw Country, Indian Country. And so it is such a pleasure and an honor to have you here with us, celebrating what we do here and just kind of in everyday life. And so again, you're here at the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board Tribal Public Health Conference. It's our 15th annual. The mission of the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board is to serve tribal nations in the Southern Plains by improving health outcomes for American Indians through partnerships, advocacy, education, and training. This event started out small and it has grown. We are having the conference now that we should have had in 2020, but a major thing happened across the world, and we had to find new ways to connect with each other. And through that, 21 and 22, we hosted an online event, and we kind of took the model, put it online, worked with Zoom. We did what we had to do to move forward our mission, and we looked forward. Those were interesting times, but to be here today with you and celebrating and having that networking is just so exciting and empowering, And that's all I've heard, just from day one, from many of you all, many attendees here, just excited to be here and, just have fun. And I think most of us wanted to be away from the computer. Who wanted to be away from the computer? I know I did. So there's a lot going on. Ran into a friend, and she's teasing. She's like, the folks that back at home are just happy. I brought all the tribal administrators with me. So we'll have to check back at the tribe, make sure they're operating efficiently. But again, like Tracy says, we're here in the Choctaw Nation. Again, we're having the conference we should have had in 2020. I'll say the conference venue is helping make us look wonderful. My team has been at it for almost a year. And then, we hit crunch time and really tried to think of how to make this conference the best available conference for our attendees. And so hard sweat, tears, probably some anger too, but it's fun and exciting. And, Monday we were here, and it's just been a great time since then. This conference has grown even larger with our collaboration with the Preparing for the Seventh Generation. Before 2016, there were 2 separate conferences here in Oklahoma and targeting the same audience. And then we finally got together and wanted to try a collaborative style. And the Preparing for the Seventh Generation was a very unique group. It was a dynamic group of individuals who worked in tribal health programs, went out to a conference on tobacco, and thought, why are we traveling outside of our jurisdiction? We need to bring something back to Oklahoma. And so the founders of that organization created the Preparing for the Seventh Generation and brought a conference. It was usually a week before or after this Tribal Public Health Conference. Well, again, we looked at some efficiencies, how we can target, make use of everyone's better time. And we began a collaboration in 2016. And as time has moved on, so have other people. But I'm proud to say that, again, that rejuvenation, we have some of our original founders here of that group. And if you're in the audience, would you please rise? Of the Preparing for the Seventh Generation. There's a few there. And so I'm so excited that you all are here. We are continuing on the legacy and certainly invite you back to be part of this planning committee. The Southern Plains Tribal Health Board has been around since 1972, and so in 2022 and this year we're celebrating 50 years of the organization. It started out as a coalition and moved on, and so yes, exciting. So 50 years of tribal public health advocacy with and for our tribes. And so it's just so exciting. Again, the organization is so proud to serve and support our tribes and tribal health programs. We do that in a variety of ways and through mainly our Tribal Epidemiology Center, as well as helping tribes build internal capacity. And just whatever our tribes needs, we are here to serve and just help build and train and move forward. And so again, there's a lot of programs here at the Health Board that serve and support our tribes. This is one of the programs that, again, great, wonderful attendance here, and it's evident by everyone here in the room. I'm so excited for you all to be here and join with us. So I want to close out my speech by saying we are an organization. We have some sister organizations here, and you probably heard of them: Northwest Portland Area Indian Health Board, Intertribal Council of Arizona, Great Lakes Intertribal. There's a multitude of them. USET, United South and Eastern Tribes. Those are area Indian health boards, and we work with and partner with the National Indian Health Board. And I wanted to take this time to recognize a local impact awardee that the National Indian Health Board has selected. And so from the Oklahoma City area, which is part of the Southern Plains region, I would like to acknowledge what the Heroes in Health Award, the Local Impact Award is. And so the Local Impact Award acknowledges an individual or organization whose work has affected change or impacted health care on the local or tribal level. One moment. And so the Local Impact Award is being presented to the Iowa Tribe of Oklahoma, the Perkins Family Clinic Behavioral Health, for implementing multiple programs, events, and outreach to Payne, Lincoln, and Logan counties. The PFC Behavioral Health Team has implemented the Botvin Life Skills Prevention Program in the middle school and the Perkins schools, created a youth advisory board, weekly talking circles, suicide prevention, curriculums and protocols, an elders garden, and hosting events that are centered around increasing mental health awareness and reducing substance use. So please join with me in congratulating the Iowa Tribe of Oklahoma Perkins Behavioral Health Clinic, and I invite you up to the stage. And so accepting the award was Chairman Perry Ahady, Health CEO Angela Daugherty, and Health IT Director Robert Coffey, who is also a board member on the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board. Again, congratulations to them. And so let me close by again thanking each and every one of you for being here today, and hopefully the strong will survive if you stay with us through the end of tomorrow. I encourage you to stay for the end of the conference. Join us for our gratitude and award ceremony tomorrow, but most importantly, have a great rest of the day. Look forward to our first ever powwow tonight, and so certainly invite you on behalf of the organization to come join with us, hear healing music, see some awesome dance contests, and I think so we're having some Indian tacos too.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely have some Indian tacos at 5:30.
All right, we got some food going. So again, thank you for being here.
Big round of applause for Mr. Nicholas Barton. So congratulations to those Iowas. Good job, my brother Robert Coffey. I was glad to see that award given. You guys very deserving. We'll do some sponsorship announcements. Recognize our sponsors. We're so grateful to our sponsors, FTI Consulting, United Healthcare, our diamond sponsors. We're so thankful to you guys, and our gold sponsors, Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma. My good friend Lucinda Myers. She might be in the crowd out there. If you're out there, wave at me, Lucinda. There she is. Hey, Lucinda Myers. Thank you guys for sponsoring. And then CareSource, Healthcare with the Heart, Native Reach. They do Good Health TV. They gave away a TV yesterday, right? Are they giving away another TV today? Yeah, keen. Thank you so much, Native Reach. The Oklahoma City Indian Clinic, our good friends at the Oklahoma City Indian Clinic, Oklahoma TSET, the Oklahoma Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust, and the Stevenson Cancer Research Center at OU Health. You can find all of our sponsors listed in the Whova app. So check out that Whova app, and you can find out more information about our sponsors. And then housekeeping notes, again, today, the POW is at 4:30. It's 4:30 to 9. We're going to get through everything quickly and get everybody in and out. We want to educate everybody about what a POW is and have fun, but also make sure everybody gets to bed on time. You guys sound kind of tired today. You guys awake out there? Anybody hit any jackpots last night? Raise your hand. No jackpots in the room. That's why everybody's quiet. You guys are grouchy. Spent all your per diem already, didn't you? Dang. So we'll have the POW will be live streamed by Paul back there in the back. Wave everybody, Paul. It's good to see you there. POWs.com. And then 49 will be on the top floor of the South Parking Garage. But who put that in there? Mr. Barton? I don't know who put that in there, and that's not true. I will not be on the top floor of the South Parking Garage tonight. Using my car hood to lead 49. 49 head singer, Mr. Tracy Prather. Mr. Prather's going to be a head singer. Let's give him a big round of applause. Head singer for our 49th. Just kidding. We're not going to have a 49. If you do 49, don't tell me I'm the HR guy. I want to I want to tell you, you've got evals on your tables. Those evals are very important. We need those evaluations. Fill them out. Fill out your evaluations. Let us know how we're doing. Let our keynotes know how we're doing. It's very valuable information. And I also want to recognize Charmel Holland and Terrence Totem. They've been the ones that are going around. Terrence, he's a big guy. If he tells you to fill out your evaluation, fill out your evaluation. He wanted me to tell you they're also on the Whova app. They prefer you use the Whova app. Save some trees. So fill out those evaluations. And then Whova How To. I've got Wes, my co-MC here, Mr. Wes Wilson is going to talk to Alex back there in the back. Alex Smith. He always gets really embarrassed when I mention this. He's going to pull up his screen, his phone screen. I think, yeah, dang, technology's keen. I got my paper up here. I don't trust technology. I'm old school. But they're going to show you a little bit about the Whova app, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to Wes at this time.
All right, so if you haven't had a chance yet, please pull out your phone and download the Whova app. That's going to be the greatest way to keep up to date with all of the great things that are going on. We have a really quick thing going on. If you look at one of the screens, you can see we have Alex's pulled up, and Alex has the full agenda. We can go through and see some of the different things that are going on. And just like we did yesterday, if you have any questions, this is the greatest place to be able to ask those. If you click on the keynote spot, there is a place where you can ask some of those questions. So we have a Q&A. So that'll be a great place if whenever you are watching some of our keynote this morning, but also our chef. If you have any questions, this is the perfect place for you to be able to ask those. So again, this is where we will be pulling those questions for this morning. So please take some time. If you have any questions, if you want to learn a little bit more about Pray Through Shoes, this is the best place to ask those questions right here.
Alex Smith, he introduced us to the Whova app. He's kind of our tech guy, and he also did our new logo a few years ago and organized everything for us on our website, new website. So he introduced us to that. He's also a Grammy-nominated singer, Mr. Alex E. Smith. He's hiding back there in the back. He's an amazing singer. We'll be singing a special round dance song for the potato dance tonight. I went and got the potatoes yesterday at Walmart. They were all out of potatoes, russet potatoes. I had to get canned potatoes, so everybody's going to be using those little bitty new potatoes. They're going to be, just kidding. Okay, let's see here. Back on track. We have online vendors also, so check out the vendors out there. Check out those vendors and go out there and get you some earrings, get you a nice blanket, get you something to take home to your significant other, or get you a blanket and take it home for yourself and put it on your door. That's a nice new door you got there. And then we have, that's all of my housekeeping notes. Am I forgetting? Oh, Lexi, we've got a lactation room. Is the lactation room up here on my right? Everybody else's left. Lactation room. That's a good thing for us. And then where's the wellness room? The pecan and willow out here in the front, pecan and willow. If you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling overwhelmed, I heard a rumor there's bean bags in there. I might have to go check them out here in a little bit. So check out the pecan and willow rooms. They're sensory rooms. They help you go in there and just kind of decompress and relax and take a break. We all need that little break. It's been kind of overwhelming, everybody coming back from COVID and getting out in the real world again. So those are my housekeeping notes, my announcements. Am I forgetting anything, Lexi? Lexi's our conference co-chair. Raise your hand. Everybody give Lexi a big round of applause. She's also got R.D. Dickens. Give him a big round of applause. Those are our conference co-chairs. Made this week possible. And then with that, if you're ready, Sutton, I'm going to introduce you. Sutton King, our keynote speaker. Sutton King, MPH, Afro-Indigenous descendant of the Menominee and Oneida Nations of Wisconsin, is a graduate of NYU School of Global Public Health. As an internationally recognized indigenous rights activist and social entrepreneur, she is dedicated to developing and scaling innovative solutions to improve indigenous health equity across sectors. We definitely need that. For the last decade, she's implemented culturally appropriate and equitable methodologies within healthcare, healthcare technology, and philanthropy. Her commitment to scaling innovative solutions is achieving change and gaining national recognition along the way. That's a lot of big words you put in there for me. So everybody give Sutton King a big round of applause as we welcome her to the stage.
Poso. Oh. It's a nice little graphic we got there. Thank you. Poso, Segoli, Sutton King, Naktau, Pinukyat, Ngwehowe Ni'i, Wagneta Nawagita Lota, Oniota Aga Ni'i. Hello, relatives. My English name is Sutton King. My Menominee name is Naktau Pinuki, which means comes first woman in Menominee. I am Turtle Clan on the Oneida side, people of the Standing Stone, and I am Bear Clan on the Menominee side, people of the Wild Rice. And it is such a pleasure to be here with you all today. It's really an honor to be in community. Feels good to be back in the physical world. It's nice to see that the floating heads on the screen are attached to real bodies. That's really nice to know and see. But I want to say thank you. I want to say Yako to Choctaw Nation. I want to say thank you to the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board. I want to say thank you to Lexi Hill, the chair of the conference, and amazing coordinator, and we actually found out we're cousins, so that was really neat too. Indian country, tell you. But thank you to the entire staff. I mean, this has been really, it's day 2, but it's been an incredible experience, and it's again so great to be back in community. But when I heard that the theme was restoring health and uniting community, I was really excited because the last decade or so of my life has been restoring my own health, and in turn, restoring the health of my family to in turn support the healing of my community. And so I just felt like that was so much synchronicity happening and a lot of affirmation in the speaking that I do around the world. And so excited to be able to bring some of my thoughts and stories here today. So one thing I always say when I'm in community, I've gotten to this place in my life, and I'm so grateful to Creator, but I'm not self-made. I'm community-made. And I think that's really important, and it's centered to everything that I do and all of the work that I do in the world and all the organizations that I support and help to scale. And remembering that community is at the center of everything I do has helped me to remain grounded in my work. And so we can go ahead and start the presentation. And so that's why I named this presentation, Healing Self Heals Community. So that's me, scruffy little res kid. So I was born in Green Bay, which shares a border with the Oneida Reservation. And my early memories were really on my grandparents' farm here. It's about a 180-acre dairy farm in Gresham, Wisconsin. That shares a border with the Menominee Reservation, Kashina and Neopet. Some of my earliest memories are playing in the creek and finding new barn kitties in the hay and herding cows with my step-grandfather and snapping peas in the garden with my grandmother. These are beautiful memories that really taught me how to appreciate the land, that connection to land, to the water, to the food. And at the same time, I was really struggling with many different challenges. As I shared, I'm Afro-Indigenous, so I'm Black, Native, and white, and was really having a hard time feeling like I belonged in community. Not really anybody around me looked similar to me. I had curly hair and browner skin, right? And outside of the smiling face, I was also dealing with a lot behind closed doors. A survivor of child sexual abuse, getting through school at daycare on the Oneida daycare was so challenging for me. I didn't understand, this experience that I was having, or seeing the trauma around in my family, was understanding why we were so different than the predominantly white students that I was, sitting next to in Green Bay schools. And I missed the ability to, speak my language. I was in early education and daycare on the Oneida Reservation, but my mom really saw this opportunity for me to have a better education in Green Bay schools. And so I was really able to find a lot of healing in the powwow circle. So I grew up dancing jingle dress, and many of you know that that dance is really a dance that brings healing to those who are sick in our communities. And so I always say that, you know, Creator showed me that my purpose was to support the healing of our communities at a very young age, and it was through that dance. And I danced my heart out in that powwow circle, right? So many things that I was feeling and experiencing at that time. And my mom, she was born in the 70s, and I think you can tell if you look at her hair there. But she was really reclaiming what it means to be Indigenous, right? You know, we shared this trauma of not knowing our fathers. Her father is white, my father was Black, and we also shared this trauma of not looking like the stereotypical Native, right? She's white passing, I'm Black, right? But she really helped me to be able to heal through that. And she would tell me, you know, I think a lot of the things that I went through is to be able to help you in your journey and to be able to heal through the things you're experiencing now. And she would share the wisdom that the elders would tell her. It's not the color of your skin that makes you Indian. It's what's here in your heart. It's your teachings, it's your traditions, right? It's those principles. My mom, she ran an urban Indian health program in Green Bay. She ran this program called Trails. And this program helped young youth, Native youth, whose parents were struggling with substance abuse. And she helped them connect back to their culture and our traditions and our ways. And I thought that was so amazing. You know, to me, in my eyes, she was an activist, right? Really defending our culture and keeping our culture and traditions sacred. But again, she always reminded me of who I am and where I come from. Really matriarch of my family. My mother and my grandmother raised me. And my grandmother played a very important role. As I said, some of the most important memories of my life were, you know, in the garden with my grandmother, learning how to cook and watching Law and Order. But she grew up in a very assimilated Catholic religious household. And she is so proud of me today, but she will tell me, you know, it wasn't cool to be an Indian when I was growing up. And that makes me so sad that she didn't have this feeling that I have when I talk about my indigeneity, right? She felt so much shame in that. But our family, we struggle with something called polycystic kidney disease. And it's a genetic disorder, and it's a chronic kidney disease, right? And I have it, my mother has it, my grandmother has it. And, you know, it was really difficult for my grandma. You know, my mom found out she had it, and they said, well, someone, either your mother or your father has it. And so my mom went to my grandma and said, you need to go get checked out. And by the time my grandma went and got checked out, she was already in kidney failure, didn't even know. And so we went on a search for a kidney for my grandma, and we found a match with her sister. And we had to fundraise to be able to support her in that kidney transplant. And we were so excited when she finally, you know, got the match and got the kidney. And then a few years later, the tribal clinic overprescribed her anti-rejection medication and killed the kidney. It devastated me. It angered me. How could this happen? My grandma's been working for the tribe for 30 years. How could they not take care of her in this way? All that we did to support her healing. And I was angry, but I transmuted that anger into activism. And I started organizing at the age of 15 in inner city Milwaukee, really creating social justice campaigns and really looking at, you know, the ecosystem and asking myself this question: why do we not have access to culturally appropriate healthcare? Indian Health Service is supposed to be supporting our health and wellness, right? Fiduciary responsibility, right? With the exchange of our land and our resources, we were told we would be taken care of. But today, Indian Health Service is funded at what, 50% of its capacity, right? You know, I can remember having a dentist appointment at Oneida Clinic, and, you know, my mom saying, we better not miss this appointment or you're not getting in until next year. I didn't understand that, but I started to ask myself these questions as I started learning more and more. But in school, that was also a place where I felt safe. I felt like my education is going to be the key to save me. My education is going to be the key to heal me and my family. And if I could just use my education to get out of here, I'll be able to kind of escape from all of this trauma that I see around me, all this trauma that I feel within me. So I told my mom one day, Mom, I'm moving to New York City. She said, oh, you ain't never even been to New York. She was right. I had never been to New York, but I knew I needed to go there. I heard this voice, and I'd say it's the voice of my ancestors calling me to this place of New York City. So we packed up our car, my grandma and my mom, and we drove 14 hours to what we call Lenape-Hoking, New York City. Every school that I applied to, I had gotten into. And so when we got to New York City, I had picked this college called College of Mount St. Vincent. And so my grandma and my mom, they dropped me off in the Bronx, and if you've ever been to the Bronx, it does not look like that. But I was excited. This was a new chapter to be able to redefine myself, be whatever I wanted to be in the world. And even though I physically left my family and my community, I brought my teachings emotionally and spiritually with me, my ancestors with me. And so some of those teachings that I brought with me, I want to share with you. And some of those stories that I brought with me, I want to share with you. One being kinship, and at the center of many indigenous teachings lies the shared traditional cultural value of kinship. Kinship requires that all things, all beings, animate and inanimate, be in relation with one another, right? To be good relatives, to work in this harmony, to really create sustainability. And in this kinship circle, everyone who was affected by a decision had a say in it, right? And the leaders were not just leaders, they were facilitators, and they were responsible to all the people. Through kinship, leaders ensured that everyone's needs were provided for. With indigenous worldviews, kinship is really this bedrock to what contemporary world has coined as diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. We've been doing this for time immemorial, right? This is not new to us. And I think it's really understanding that the need to center kinship practices is this means to achieving a more just and sustainable world. And these sacred teachings have guided our ancestors through the violence of colonization and exploitation to survival. And these are the same teachings that strive to protect indigenous scholars through the trauma of acculturation within academia and corporate America. And it is through indigenous ancestral knowledge and contemporary kinship practices we are able to arrive at a communal place of healing. Creating a society based on kinship maintains equity and a balance within Mother Earth. And we're in this place where of cancel culture, right? If I don't like what you're saying, I'm gonna cancel you. I'm gonna block you, I'm gonna unfollow you, I'm gonna unfriend you. That's not our ways, right? If we are maintaining a kinship society, then we have a responsibility to all the people inside of it, right? And sometimes people are out of balance, right? Sometimes we don't believe, we share the same beliefs as other peoples in this kinship society, right? But we have a responsibility to support people in coming back into balance, holding this peacekeeping circle, right? So I want you to think about that the next time you want to unfollow somebody or block somebody, right? The next principle I want to talk about is a 7-generation principle, right? So we as a Haudenosaunee, I'm Oneida, which is 6 New York bands that came together to fight Western expansion during colonization, settler colonialism. But we have this concept known as a 7-generation principle. It's really based on the idea that the decisions that we make in the present should consider the impact that they will have on the 7 generations to come. It's really a reminder that our actions and decisions have real consequences that can extend beyond our own lifetimes. It encourages people to consider how their choices affect the future generations, right? And it really emphasizes this importance of sustainability and the responsibility that we have to stewardship of the land and our resources. It encourages people to live in harmony with nature, taking only what is needed and ensuring that the resources are replenished, right? For future generations. Again, it's this powerful reminder that the intergenerational and the interconnectedness of our natural world. And really, again, thinking beyond our own individual needs, thinking about our communities. So I've always felt like I'm walking in two worlds, you know, high heel on one foot, moccasin on the other. How to keep the balance, I don't know, it's really difficult. But I think I get this from my grandfather. So I'm a direct descendant of Chief Oshkosh. And if you've ever heard of Oshkosh, Wisconsin, it's named after my grandfather. But he had this ability to walk in two worlds. And so for the Menominee people, the principle of sustainability really derives from the historical cultural relationship with the land. And my grandfather, Chief Oshkosh, really understood the importance of our land and culture and tradition as the foundation of survival for our nation, for the foundation of our health and our wellness. So as a settler state really was pressuring the Menominee people to move to so-called Minnesota, they tried to place us between two warring tribes. They tried to place us in a place where we wouldn't be able to grow our wild rice, and he knew that our Menominee forest was the connection to our health and our survival. And so he had to learn what land ownership was, right? We didn't have this concept. We didn't own the land. We were stewards of the land. But he had to learn how to walk in these two worlds, and so he was able to cede over 10 million acres, barter with the United States government. So today, we live still on our ancestral land, stewarding over 230,000 acres, maintaining our beautiful Menominee forest. And here you can see our beautiful Menominee forest. And again, the relationship between land and culture has been shown through the relationship that we have with our forest. Our forest provides us with food and game, wood for shelter and transportation, supports our economy through timber, you know, and I think a healthy forest is directly proportional to a healthy community. And, you know, we look at health and land as one as the Menominee people. We are stewards of the forest, and ancestral teachings from my grandfather instructed our people, like the seventh generation, to never take more than we need, right? And today, these teachings are recognized globally as sustainable forestry. And so a quote from him is, "Start harvesting the trees with the rising sun and work towards the setting sun, but take only the mature trees, the sick trees, and the trees that have fallen. When you reach the end of the reservation, turn and cut from the setting sun to the rising sun, and the trees will last forever." And it's true. Even with logging, we have more standing timber than we did a century ago. And actually, if you're up in space and you look down, NASA uses the cutting edge of where our forest stops and where the farming land begins to refocus their lenses. So it's a beautiful forest, and if you've never been, I encourage you to come visit us. So I got to College of Mount St. Vincent. Here I am in the Bronx, in academia. And, you know, like I said, I've always been feeling like I walk in two worlds. But the tale of navigating two worlds is one that's all too familiar to indigenous scholars, right? For our ancestors, the ability to bridge community and the ability to endure acculturation was vital to survival, right? Complexities that are present when balancing two cultures, honoring indigenous ways of being and knowing while navigating the Eurocentric dominant culture requires the integration of culturally responsible frameworks. So my introduction to research was followed by my acceptance into this university, and I served as a research assistant. And the first time I heard of the word acculturation was in this role, and I said, oh, there's a name for what I've been experiencing, acculturation, aha, you know? And as this research assistant, I had the opportunity to examine acculturation and how that has an impact on mental health and academic performance. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. It is harder for me, right? But it really helped me to understand, to be able to heal from this acculturation and assimilation. Culturally appropriate programming, culturally appropriate frameworks and methodologies are important to be implemented to support our Black, Brown, and Indigenous peoples in, you know, an inherently traumatizing institution such as academia, let's be honest. So, if you've ever taken a 101 to psychology, you've probably heard of Maslow's hierarchy. Raise your hand if you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy. Okay, yes. So it describes human motivation and the different levels of needs that individuals must satisfy in order to achieve self-actualization, right? So I'm in my 101 psychology course and I'm starting to really learn. And again, remember, I'm thinking, education is going to be the key to my freedom and my healing. Well, I had a lot to learn. So, you know, it's typically represented as a pyramid with the most basic physiological needs such as food and shelter at the base, followed by safety needs and looking at belongingness and esteem, and then at the top you have self-actualization. And while I was preparing for a co-presentation for Harvard Med School with a indigenous clinician, Mele Helsted, she told me that she went to a conference and she heard Professor Kathy Blackstock speak, who's First Nations, who really talked about Maslow's hierarchy being really being taken from the First Nations perspective, being taken from the Blackfoot, that this was an appropriated, colonized version of the tribe's teaching. And I thought, whoa, yeah, because I didn't agree with what they were telling me in that class. It didn't align with my beliefs, you know? And she said, first, it's not a pyramid, it's a teepee. I said, oh, that's cool. And self-actualization isn't at the base of the teepee. Or self-actualization is at the base of the teepee, not at the top where Maslow placed it. You know, the Blackfoots believe that self-actualization is the foundation on which community actualization is built, and that the highest form that a Blackfoot can attain is called cultural perpetuity. What is cultural perpetuity? It's an understanding that you will be forgotten one day, but you have a responsibility to ensure that your ancestors' teachings live on. And I thought, wow, that seems right to me, because the Menominee Oneida approach, right, when we're thinking about health, is completely different from the reductionist, individualistic approach of Western methodologies. It's this understanding from the Menominee perspective that healing is viewed as a holistic approach that involves the individual, their family, their community, and the natural world. The Menominee people believe that everything is interconnected, and so healing cannot be solely focused on the individual. When we widen our context, we see that the individual healing is just one part of a larger process that involves healing the relationship between the people, the land, and the spirit world. Reframing healing as intergenerational and relational helps individuals and the collective by acknowledging that interconnectedness of all things. And by healing the relationship between people, the land, and spirit, we create a healthier, more sustainable world around us. This is a collective effort. Healing ourselves heals community. And similarly, the Oneidas, we view healing as a collective process that involves the entire community. We believe that individuals are not separate from their ancestors or their future generations, but rather a continuum of life. Healing must address intergenerational trauma that has been passed through generations. So this kind of aha moment that I had in preparing for this presentation for Harvard with Malay Halstead was so affirming for me, because I remember sitting in that 101 psychology class, and I remember being very disrupted because I asked a lot of questions. But one thing my mom always told me is that I'm not there to just pay this university, right? I'm not there to just sit in a seat. I'm there to ask questions, right? I'm there to learn. I'm there to make sure that my voice is heard. So I think there's fundamental issues in the way in which the Western world thinks. Again, like I said, it's reductionist, it's individualistic. Their approaches are not deeply woven into the interconnectedness of all things, which is similar to what I said around the indigenous worldview. The Western approach has compartmentalized the view of health, whereas indigenous worldview has harnessed the interconnectedness of all things, this comprehensive view, right? It takes in every aspect of the body, because the body cannot be compartmentalized, right, based upon a disease. It makes sense to consider how each bodily system affects the others. For example, the medicine wheel, right? It teaches us that we have 4 aspects to ourselves: the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. And each must be in balance and equally developed in order to maintain happiness and health. And so this was a really cool slide that I found that looked at the differences of Western science versus traditional. But then I found the shared values, right? And if we could focus on the shared values, I think we could find a way to come together, right? So as an Afro-Indigenous scholar, my interaction within Western scientific paradigms is framed by the intersectionality of my cultural identities and rooted in traditional Indigenous teachings of my ancestors. And there is a call for institutions to deconstruct colonial ideologies and decolonize Western research methodologies. Centering Indigenous ways of being and knowing within research challenges the notion that regards Indigenous methodologies as invalid. Further, failure to recognize the vital role that culture plays in informing the design process of research perpetuates the health inequities experienced by our Indigenous communities. For many Indigenous scholars, we are considered to be this bridge, right? A bridge between world, a bridge between the Western world and our Indigenous communities in which we come from. Our cultural methodologies, though, that have been informed by the principles fall out of the realm of colonial understanding. And because of that, they've been widely disregarded. And, again, let's be honest, the Western world has been violent towards Indigenous people, making any participation in these institutions inherently traumatizing. So again, this idea that education was going to be my key to healing, yeah, wasn't it? But we must participate to disrupt and dismantle these oppressive systems and to normalize culturally appropriate methodologies and frameworks. My Afro-Indigenous identity is revolutionary when placed in these institutional frameworks, in these institutions. It requires these institutions to look at the unbalanced power dynamics, to address them, to address Indigenous people's presence, right? To make space for us. My presence demands an in-depth analysis of these oppressive structures that have historically impacted Black and Indigenous ways of being. Having a seat at the table, as I said, doesn't require just being seen, but it requires being heard, right? And in turn, it revitalizes Indigenous ways of knowing and being. Our existence in these spaces are a reminder of the exploitation of land and labor and the unequivocal harm perpetuated by Western modalities of science, the ways in which our bodies have been extracted, the ways our medicine have been extracted and taken from us. As an Indigenous scholar, I understand the value of decolonizing research, and I understand the value of our methodologies and ways of being. And so, coming into these institutions was really challenging for me, right? But I knew that I had to be there. I knew I had to have these credentials to be able to go into the world and create these structures and decolonize these structures that existed. I had to learn how they worked first. So I'll never forget my abnormal psychology class. I had an assignment, and the assignment was to create a genogram. Who's ever heard of a genogram? Okay. So the genogram, it's a traumatic version of a family tree. That's what I'll call it. It's a pictorial display of a person's family relationship. And so this professor said, okay, I have an assignment for you. You're gonna create a genogram, and you're gonna indicate the trauma that every family member has ever experienced in your family. And I said, I don't think there's a piece of paper big enough for that for me. And the professor said, what are you talking about? And I said, do you realize I'm Native and Black? Do you know how much historical and intergenerational trauma that my family has been through? And probably not the most culturally appropriate assignment, but that's another story. So I went to Staples and I got the biggest piece of paper that I could actually find. And another thing she said is that we were gonna have to show this piece of paper to our classmates. Oh, I felt so much shame. I was so nervous. So I called my mom and said, hey, Mom, I gotta create this genogram. And she said, you gotta do what? And I said, yeah, I have to call everybody in our family and ask them about their trauma. And she's like, I could hear the instant regret of sending me to this university. She was like, what am I paying for right now? So I sat on my dorm floor with this big piece of paper, and I started, putting all the names down and creating this, this family tree. I started calling my grandma, my mom, and asking really difficult and challenging questions, And it was hard for my grandma, It was really hard for her to tell me about the things that she had experienced. It's really hard for my aunties and uncles to tell me about the things that they had gone through. And, one of the reasons why the piece of paper wasn't big enough was because my grandma's one of 14. It's a really big family, Like I said, she was born in a Catholic religious household, and if you're Catholic, you don't really believe in birth control, so there's that. But what I learned was, I'd always known that my grandma's mother died when she was 11 years old. She died a couple days after giving birth, and she died of pneumonia. And so my grandmother really had to, and that's a picture of her holding my grandma, help raise 11 children. 3 children were born after my grandmother passed, after my grandfather remarried. But I started really learning, about all of this trauma that my family had experienced, and it started to make sense to me why my family acted the way they did, right? Just thought they just, acted like that. But what I was also seeing was I was also being able to pinpoint where settler colonization came in and where something called the boarding school era came in, right? And so Chief Reginald Oshkosh, Chief Oshkosh II, also my grandfather, he was sent to Carlisle Indian boarding school. He was part of the first cohort of students to ever go to this boarding school. And if you've ever seen the Carlisle Indian boarding school, I'm sure you saw this picture behind this picture of my grandfather, holding my grandfather. But it really just desensitizes us to the stories and the families that were a part of this era, right? My grandmother, in this last picture that I showed you, her name was Relia Oshkosh. And what I learned about Relia is that she was actually kidnapped from Carlisle Indian boarding school, and she was sent to what was called the outing system. And it's basically domestic slave labor for young Native girls. And I read these letters that my grandfather was writing and begging for Relia to be brought back to the boarding school or brought back home to our reservation. And I'm just sitting on the floor of my dorm and I'm just crying and I'm weeping and I'm weeping. And then I found this letter. I'm going to read this to you all if you don't mind. Sorry, the print's a little small. Like the good old medicine man who foretold a century beforehand, the coming into America, the keen edge, the white man. Our parents tell us that the rapid changing of events of this present generation has drawn a dark cloud over the leisure Indian life forever, and that the only hope for our future is education. Therefore, sends three of us almost 2,000 miles away from our happy home in the deep forest of the Menominee Reservation in Wisconsin to the great Indian school of Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Understanding well their purpose, we are making every effort in our work to accomplish their aim. You as a child having your papa and mama at your happy home every day will understand and appreciate our grievance. Thus, it may be ever so humble, yet there is no place like home. The strain for our longing for our beloved parents, relatives, friends, and all which goes to make a happy home, they are so deeply impressed in our little memories, and are great that we are almost unable to enjoy words to express ourselves. Our father, Reginald Oshkosh, who was one of the chiefs in the party at the Roman Winnemucca Memorial Ceremony at New York Harbor on George Washington's birthday, in honor of the North American Indian, brought home with him a magazine. In it, we found your little speech to your friends, the Indians. My friends, the Indians, have not been well treated. Now, under the Secretary of Interior, Franklin K. Lane, you shall be treated well as the white man. And they're writing this to the daughter of the secretary. This is an inspiration in our minds that we know no other person more worthy than you to intercede in our behalf and appear in person before your father, Franklin K. Lane, the Honorable Secretary of the Interior, and present to hear our petition. There are funds deposited in the United States Treasury amounting to over $2 million, which are being held in a trust for the Menominee tribe of Wisconsin, and it is the discretion of the Secretary of Interior. We, as individual Indians and members of the said Menominee tribe, each have a share in those funds. Therefore, we sincerely request the Honorable Secretary of the Interior to authorize the expending from any of those funds that may be available, so much thereof as may be necessary to defray our traveling expenses from Carlisle, Pennsylvania to Neopet, Wisconsin, and from Neopet, Wisconsin back to Carlisle each year during school summer vacations for a period of about 5 years, and charging the same to our individual shares of those funds. This will surely enable us to visit our home and see our dear parents at least once a year. We will deem this money well appropriated if granted. We are thanking you in advance for this long to be a remembered favor. We are your little Indian friends, Relia, Roland, and Roy Oshkosh. So I read this letter, and I just thought, wow, some of the things that they were experiencing in this educational system that's supposed to help us and support us into this assimilation or acculturation I was feeling and I was experiencing. And I felt so angry, right? I felt so angry. But I recognized that the key to healing community was the key to healing myself. I also shared that I'm Black, and I didn't grow up with my father, and didn't meet my father till I was 25 years old. But what I found out is that my father's lineage comes from a place called Africatown in the historic Mobile, Alabama. And that is where the last slave ship entered into America, called the Clotilda. And folks who came on that boat were Nigerian, and so I'm Nigerian. But they created a revolution and created their own community that was rich with their culture and traditions and language. And I thought, wow, all that ancestry is within me. I'm so proud to be Black. I'm so proud to be Native, right? I also really got to learn more about one of my relatives, Ingrid Washington, Flying Eagle Woman. Ingrid was one of the most well-known Indigenous rights activists of the 21st century. She was the director of the Four Directions Fund. She was very influential in philanthropy. She was one of the original members of the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. But she was kidnapped and murdered in Colombia while building a school for the Uwa tribe, right? She was defending the rights of indigenous peoples against extractive industries like oil. And her life was taken way too soon. And she actually came from the Menominee Reservation and lived in Brooklyn. And so I always feel Ingrid's presence whenever I, speak. And I honor her. I honor our missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, trans, and Two-Spirit. And I shared, my sexual abuse as a child in Wisconsin, but it didn't stop. When I got to New York, I became a survivor of trafficking. And that nearly ended my educational career. And it was through community, ceremony, sacred plant medicines, therapy, that helped me to be able to heal through that, complete my bachelor's in psychology with a minor in sociology, and continue on to NYU School of Global Public Health. But I remember telling my therapist, before I was about to graduate from NYU, because my abuser had been stalking me for years. And I was so afraid that he was going to tell the world what happened. And she said, you tell them first. You tell them first, and don't ever feel ashamed of your truth, because your truth is good medicine. And so, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And so I vowed from that moment, I had been doing public speaking at that point for probably 5 years, very research academic, but I wasn't really bringing my whole self to the stage. I wasn't bringing the stories of my ancestors. I wasn't bringing my principles. I wasn't bringing my truth as good medicine. And so I vowed to, every time I would get on stage, I would bring my whole self. I would bring all the medicine that came with me. And so really commemorating that, I decided to create a video right before I graduated from NYU, and I'd love to share that with you. Poso, Sokoli, Sutton King, Naktau, Pianuki, Nuyukyats. Hello, my English name is Sutton King. My Indian name is Naktau Pianuki, which means comes first woman in Menominee. I am from both the Oneida and Menominee nations of Wisconsin. And today, I am graduating from New York University School of Global Public Health with a master's in public health, concentrating in global health. I do this for the 4 out of 5 Native women who experience personal violence. I do this for the 1 out of 2 who've experienced sexual violence and domestic violence. I do this for the 28% who experienced childhood abuse and the 27% who were trafficked. I do this for them because I am them, all of them. I am a survivor. I share my truth because I honor the path Creator chose for me. I share my truth because Creator, my ancestors, and loved ones support the strength within me as they stand behind me. I share my truth because Native women and girls need to understand that you are not a victim for sharing your story. You are a survivor. And when you speak, you begin to heal years of unresolved historical and intergenerational trauma woven into your DNA. You are Indigenous and beautiful. You are strong and resilient. You are not your trauma. And do not ever give up. Waiwanan, Yako, to my relatives, my mother, grandmother, and the many aunties and sisters who reminded me along the way that I am strong on the inside, my truth is good medicine, and I am not alone. Thank you. I know I'm a little over in time, so I'm going to make the rest of this a little bit quick. But with all my experiences, I've decided to really channel that into what I'm most passionate about. Philanthropy, creating a regenerative economy, a healing economy, indigenous wellness, access, community-based participatory research, environment and conservation, and women's health. So when I got to New York, my first question was, where is IHS, right? And someone who has a chronic illness, you know, that's something I needed to utilize. And I was told that the closest one was 4 hours away on the Oneida Res. And I didn't have a car, so there's no way I was getting there. The only urban Indian health program was outreach and referral, right? And so I really realized that, you know, it was ironic that the tribes along the eastern seaboard were the first to be impacted by settler colonization, but have been the last to really receive the tools and resources and investment that they need to heal. So I co-founded the Urban Indigenous Collective, which is really driving the inclusion of urban natives by indigenizing our existing infrastructure. We support access to culturally tailored health and wellness services for self-identifying indigenous peoples in what we call Lenape-Hoking, so-called Manhattan, the greater New York City. And we do this through community-based participatory research, advocacy, programming, and now that we're opening a community center in July, direct services. So we're really excited about that. And when we say self-identifying, we are really committed to decolonizing public health, right? And so we don't recognize colonial borders when we talk about being indigenous. We don't recognize blood quantum criteria in a means to access resources, right? We, of course, respect tribal sovereignty and understand the place there for that. But in our urban communities, 70% of natives now live in urban spaces. And with the government's policies of relocation and moving us to urban areas, many indigenous peoples are disconnected, you know, from those documents or their culture and wanted to create a safe space to include all indigenous people. So we launched with a community health forum, which really looks at the health and wellness of our community. We launched with a pop-up tent and a table in 2019. On Randall's Island. We didn't have a nickel to our names, but we had a survey, and we knew that survey was going to be the foundation of what we created, right? And so really making sure this is ongoing survey that informs our programming and our direct services, really ensuring that community voice is a part of everything that we do. Indigenous-led community-based participatory research. So we believe in consultation, continuous consent, co-creation, and data sovereignty. These are really important principles to us. And we've adopted the Code of Ethics of Integrity guidelines. If you want to take a picture of those are supported by the University of Washington, and they're really culturally appropriate in how we look at community-based participatory research. I won't read them all. I'm gonna go really quickly through the rest of these slides. And then our governance and community. Now we have a bottom-up approach. We have our Indigenous-led board, a community advisory board that's Indigenous, and then we have a missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, trans, and Two-Spirit task force. Everything that we do is grounded in community, and everything we do, we consult our community on, right? A real decolonizing approach to public health. Now, it was really important for us to be able to look at the data within MMIP and how that impacts us in New York City. There was a report that went out that did not include New York City, so we took it upon ourselves to create our own research, right? And so this is a mural that we put up in Brooklyn to honor MMIW. It's a 30-foot mural, and there's a QR code that goes to our landing page to create more education around missing and murdered Indigenous women. So it really has 3 pillars, one being research. So we file FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests. We create a database. We have a policy tracker. It's unprecedented. If you go on our website, it looks at all of the policy across Turtle Island, and then community with our task force, making sure everything is survivor-led. It's our policy tracker. We grade every legislation. And I have 2 more slides I'm going to wrap up here. So everything I do in my work is about my own experience, right? And so I thought to myself, what did I need when I got to New York and I was 18? I needed Native aunties to support me, right? So we created the Indigenous Scholarship Mentorship Program. It's a 10-week paid internship program. It supports Indigenous women with stipends, Wi-Fi, food cards, an individualized curriculum for professional experience, and really supports them in their journey in higher academia. And so I'm gonna stop here, but our community center will be opening in July, and we really look forward to being able to create the pathway and infrastructure for direct services. We move at the speed of trust, and we move with community in every step that we make, which I believe has created true sustainability. And so I encourage you all, when you come on a stage and you tell, you're presenting, bring your whole self, right? Release that shame, share your medicine, because it is good medicine. I want to thank you all, Makwawanan. Sorry I went over time. It's an Indian thing, but appreciate you all so very much. Thank you.
Sutton King, ladies and gentlemen. We got a gift for you, so stay up there for just a second. Lexi's going to bring it up for you. Big round of applause. So as you know, with our Native American people, I've heard a lot of times that our wealth is not determined by how much we can accumulate, but how much we can give. So we hope you accept this little gift. Take home to your home and to your people and enjoy it and think of us when you put it on. Thank you. Big round of applause. And Sutton, I just want to apologize. I wanted to have a Q&A. I've got a million questions, but we ran out of time. That's my fault. I talked too much, and I should have shortened it up a little bit. But it wasn't you. It wasn't running on any time or anything like that. I thank you so much. So next up, ladies and gentlemen, if you have white raffle. Oh, one more thing. Sutton, my boss wanted to see if it would be okay. A lot of people in our audience have questions for you. If you could hang out for a little bit, and anybody has any questions, you'll get with Lexi and Mr. Barton. Maybe go off to the side, and people have questions they want to come and ask you directly. That'd be okay? She said yes. So thank you, Sutton. One more big round of applause for Sutton King. I'll get in my MC voice here. If you got white tickets, get your white tickets out. We've got some raffle items. These are King tickets. You didn't even have to pay for your raffle tickets. You got them free when you got in. Well, I guess you paid to register, but we thank you for that. So we got some items to give away for you here. And Wes, my Princess Wes here, AST Princess from way back, he's going to be pulling the tickets out. You want me to pull them out, or you want to pull them out? I'll be a Kickapoo Princess. I'll pull the tickets out. Our first winner is 333-2150. 333-2150. Come on, make your way up here and claim your prize. The last four are 2150. 2150. Anybody got that number? Going once. Over here. You got to move quick. Look at those numbers fast. We got this winner right over here. And let's give a big round of applause. There's two of them. I think they're racing. So these winners will come up here and claim their prize, and we'll go on to the next ticket. We got 333-2455. 333-2455. Anybody got 333-25? I got some. I heard a bingo over there. There you go. Big winner. Come on up here and claim your prize. And then we've got 333-2306. 333-2306. Anybody got 2306? Look over here in the green. Big round of applause. And take both of them over there. Okay. Now we got another TV. We'll be doing the TV last. So Wes will bring your prizes over to you. Thank you, Wes. So we got 333-2306, another winner. You got those tickets handy. Anybody want to win a TV today? 333-2107. 333-2107. We got a winner over here. You got here a bingo. You got to holler bingo. Right there. Come on up here. Is that all the prizes, Wes? Just 4 today. So we gave away 1, 2, 3. Oh, that last one. You won a TV, Native Reach, Good Health TV. You won a 50-inch TV. You'll take this piece of paper back there to their vendor booth. Big around. Where'd that winner go? Right there? Hurry up. All right. I'll bring it over to you. So you want a TV and Good Health TV. Their vendor booth is out there outside, so go and take that over there to them. And what's your name? Whitney. Whitney Iron from Miami? Miami? Florida? Oh, Miami, Oklahoma. And who are you with? The Peoria Tribe. Let's give her a big round of applause. Congratulations.
All right, and just a reminder, tomorrow we will be doing more raffles. Tomorrow will be the grand finale. We'll be giving away 7 raffle items, which will include a wireless headset, a self-care kit, free registration for the hotel and stay for the 2024 conference, a shawl donated by Duke, 1 packable outdoor blanket, and a few other items. So again, thank you guys so much. Tomorrow we will have our grand finale.
We did our raffle, so we're going to take a 10-minute break. Everybody take a 10-minute break. I know everybody's got to go.